We will be posting this on our website as well. Excuse me. Can you go to the next slide, please, Caitlin? Thank you. Welcome. If you were at the 2026 Subrecipient Workshop, you're in the right place. So here's a quick agenda. So if you have done this before, a lot of this is a refresher. If not, welcome. We're glad to have you. Basically, the purpose of this is if you've received a grant for 2026, we're just going over invoicing, reporting, compliance requirements, things like that, introduce you to staff so that hopefully the year will go smoothly. You'll know how to do the reporting and invoicing, and you'll know who to contact if you need to. We'll also be doing a demo of Zoom Grants, which is our grants management system. When you applied for the grant, you use that, but there's some other pieces that you need to do for the invoicing and reporting. So we'll be doing that. So next slide, please. So I'm Jennifer Daniels. I manage the Community Development Fund. We're with the Housing Division of Arlington County. And then our team is here below. So I don't know if you want to wave your hands when I introduce you. Zina Abdul Rahman is our administrative grant specialist. She does a lot of the invoicing stuff. She is a whiz if you have technical issues with Zoom grants or other things. So she's the right person to reach out to for that. Jessica Worrell is our management and budget analyst. So she is the person who is approving our invoices, also a very important person. Caitlin Jones and Joel Franklin are the planners, aka the project monitors. So you are assigned one of them who will be working with you on invoicing, reporting. That will be in your agreement who the person is, or feel free to reach out to us. And they're both very helpful as far as if you have questions about your grant or if you want to make budget changes or anything like that. So we're the team. It's nice to meet you if we haven't yet. Next slide, please. So a couple of new things this year. So those of you who've been coming for years, this is so exciting. We do have new staff. So both Jessica and Joel are new to the Community Development Fund world. So they'll, kind of be learning along with you. So if you're used to working with Rhoda or Andrew, they're no longer with the county, or Andrew's the county, Rhoda has retired. Something else new this year that I think is going to be kind of interesting to figure out is you have an 11-month period of performance. So typically your grant is July 1 to June 30th. This year your grant is July 1 to May 30th or 31st. I guess there's 31 days in May. And the reason for that is we need to close out the year earlier because we're switching grants management systems. So when we worked with you on your budget, when you first submitted your budget, it was a 12-month budget. We're asking that you shuffle that to be an 11-month budget. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. So if you're paying a staff person for 12 months, if you can either shuffle so you can pay all of their community development fund grant up front or in 11 months or whatever works for you, and we're happy to help you figure out how to do that. But it is important to make sure you don't spend any grant money after May 31st and bill in June. And again, we'll talk more about that. And then finally, as I mentioned, this is our last year in Zoom grants. So this doesn't really matter for you as this year's subrecipients. If you're planning to apply for next year, though, we will be working in a new system. We'll be working in Neighborly. So again, we want to try to close out Zoom grants really smoothly this year. So hopefully that will all go fine. All right, next slide, please. So subrecipient agreements, I think we have almost all of them either en route or done. You cannot spend funding money until the agreements and purchase orders are in place. So I think a lot of them are still being routed, and we have a huge internal routing process. I think it needs to go through like 6 people before it goes to you all. So it might be somewhere in that process. So once that is done, we will set up a purchase order for you. Zena will send you an email that has your purchase order number. So you need that in order to start spending money. So we're trying to move as quickly as we can. Hopefully we'll get almost everything in place by July 1st. All backup documentation needs to be uploaded in Zoom Grants. So that's something that we need to make sure is done before the start of the year. And if you haven't done that, Zena will follow up with you. What we mean by backup documentation is we need your W-9, we need to make sure we have your IRS information, all the stuff that we need to make sure that we have you set up in the system. And as I mentioned, agreements have been routed through DocuSign to authorized signers. And you or the CEO may or may not be the authorized signer. We have worked with all of you all to kind of figure out what's in your bylaws. For some of you, the authorized signer is the executive director, the president. For others, it might be the board chair. So hopefully, we are routing it to the right person. If we're not, let us know, because that's something that our attorneys care a really lot about. And The executed version, once it's done, will be emailed to the staff listed in Zoom grants. So that may be either the executive director or might be the grant application contact. If somebody else needs a copy of that, let us know and we can send it to you. Also, let us know if you want direct deposit. I think all of you do that. And again, we need the W-9 before we can do that. So next slide, please. So I'm going to turn this over to Caitlin, who's going to tell us all about the Community Development Fund. Thanks, Caitlin.
Great. Morning, everyone. So as you all know, the Community Development Fund is made up of a variety of funding sources, both federal, state, and local. So we've got the Federal Community Development Block Grant, Community Services Block Grant, which is a federal program that's passed through the state, the Community Services Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Program, which is a state grant program, and then our Affordable Housing Investment Housing Services Program, which is local funding. We also manage some general funded programs, and those use our general CDBG guidelines. And so if you are getting general fund funding, then you probably likely already know that. Okay, so just I'm mentioning all of that because it's very important to understand what your funding source is, because that dictates what reporting requirements you will have during the program year. So when you're reviewing your grant agreement that Jennifer just talked about, make sure you're keeping track of what source of funding you are being provided for the program year. So some community development specific terms, just so that you are, so that we're all on the same page as we're going through this presentation. The first is subrecipient or subgrantee. Because the Arlington County is the recipient of federal funds or state funds, we are the we're the awardee, we're the grantee, and then the organizations that are awarded funds from the county are subrecipients. So that's what we refer to our program partners as our subrecipients. The PE form is also known as the program evaluation form, and this is the reporting portion of your subrecipient agreement. It's dictated in, I think, Exhibit B of your grant agreement, and it just includes the program strategies and the performance measures, demographic and leverage requirements that you will be required to report on either quarterly or annually. And that is all going to be done through Zoom grants this year. As Jennifer mentioned, this is the last year we'll be doing all of our reporting and invoicing in Zoom grants. Another important term is consolidated plan or annual plan. These are our annual and 5-year planning documents that outlines our strategies and programs and resources that we're going to be using to work towards our housing and community development goals. They're required planning documents that are required by HUD, but we use those planning documents to kind of dictate how we're, what our strategy for our entire community development program. And then finally, the CAPER is our consolidated annual performance evaluation report. Again, another HUD report that we are required to submit annually. And that is essentially our annual report of sort of how all of our programs did over the program year that we submit to HUD annually. And again, even though it's just the report that we submit to HUD is just reporting on our CDBG funds, we kind of use the CAPER process to measure the performance of all of our grant programs. So just really quickly, some things that you need to know about the community development or some of our funding sources. And again, this is applicable to you based on the funding source that you have. So as far as the community development block grant, these programs must comply with Title 24 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 570. You can serve clients up to 80% of area median income. And then there are several other compliance requirements that might apply to your grant. This can include NEPA, Section 504, Fair Housing, Minority and Women's Business Enterprises, Equal Employment Opportunities Act. Most of these apply to the grants that are funded through the CDBG program. Some of them are only somewhat applicable. So like not the NEPA requirements, for example. Most of the programs that we fund through the Community Development Fund are exempt from NEPA requirements. But if your program is not exempt, you will hear about it from a member of the staff. And then another program that another funding source that comprises the Community Development Fund is the Affordable Housing Investment Fund. Generally, this program supports multifamily development projects, but we do have a carve out of the AHIF program that's specifically for housing grants. If you're receiving an AHIF housing services grant, again, keep note of that from your grant agreement. These are non-renewable and awarded for 2 years. So if you're awarded AHIF for fiscal year 2026 and it's your first year, you do not need to reapply for the second year of funding for fiscal year 2027. But again, these are non-renewable grants. So once you're awarded funding for the first 2 years for that program, you're not able to reapply. And then the other thing to remember about AHIF is that we use CDBG guidelines for reporting guidelines for that program. And so this is what the reporting looks like. And this this should be familiar because this is also attached to your grant agreement. And this is what all the various items that we are asking you to report on quarterly. So that includes race, ethnicity, and income. So for CDBG, HUD dictates how to define race and ethnicity. So these are the categories that are included in your quarterly reporting, in your quarterly reports. So race includes white, Black, African American, Asian, American Indian, Alaskan Native, Native Hawaiian, other Pacific Islander, American Indian, Alaska Native and white, Asian and white, Black African American and white, American Indian, Alaska Native, and Black African American, and other multiracial. So these are the HUD defined categories. And then ethnicity is whether your beneficiary is Hispanic or not Hispanic. And then income level is based on the federal income table, which I believe I have in a couple slides. And income level is reported based on area median income. And income for CDBG funded grants, actually most of our grants can be self-reported by the beneficiary. You need to have an intake process where you are verifying the income and the annual household income and the household size for all of your beneficiaries. But again, it can be self-reported by the beneficiary. You don't need to collect annual tax statements or anything like that from the beneficiary. And then just a quick reminder that the total number assisted that are reported for race and ethnicity has to match the income that is the number of beneficiaries that are reported by income each quarter. And Zena will goes through all the reports that are submitted quarterly and kind of make sure that all of these fields match. So as far as CSBG, the requirements for the CSBG program are passed through the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and it's administered by the Virginia Department of Social Services. So we receive our funding through the state, but it is a federal program. And CSBG programs must comply with Title 45 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 96. For CSBG funded programs, you can serve clients up to 200% of the federal poverty level. As far as CSBG TANF, this is a state program. Funds are allocated biannually through the Virginia General Assembly, and the requirements are in the Virginia Code. CSBG TANF, again, can serve clients up to 200% of the federal poverty level. There are some TANF-specific requirements that are not applicable to the other funding programs. That includes the programs must serve beneficiaries that include a family with a minor child less than 18 years old. Services cannot be considered assistance as defined by the TANF grant, and costs incurred must relate to either work subsidies, education and training, childcare, transportation, and non-recurring short-term benefits. So this is the CSBG and CSBG TANF reporting information. Again, this is required by the state. So again, if you are receiving a CSBG or CSBG TANF grant, this is the information that you'll be required to report on quarterly. It's a lot of additional information as compared to, oh, I think I just lost my screen. One second, go back to the, there we go. Okay, so there's a lot of additional information as compared to what is required through CDBG. So it includes gender, age, family type, family size. It includes education level, other characteristics. So one thing about CSBG that is different than CDBG is that you can report unknown. So if you aren't able to collect this information, you are able to report unknown.
Hi, sweetie, I love you.
Oh,
can I make kisses?
You just mute folks. Okay. All right, and then finally, the income limits for 2025. These will be uploaded and updated in the Zoom Grants platform. These are the limits for the beneficiaries you're serving, and that includes the corresponding income levels. It's updated annually by HUD and then annually through the CSBG program as well. This will be the same throughout the program year, and then it'll change. It generally changes in the spring, and we just update it for the following program year. So I think that's it from me. So I can pass it over to Jessica, who's going to talk a little bit about invoicing and sort of the requirements around that.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I'm, as Jennifer said earlier, the management and budget specialist. I'm just going to go over some invoice documentation. At the county, we just have a very standardized procurement process for paying invoices. So in order to send payment, we do have to comply with our internal policies. And here on the slide is some of the information that we need on your cover sheet. So it's going to start with the purchase order number, which Zena will be sending out. And then the invoice number is anything that you want it to be. It could be something from your internal system or something that you make up when you send to us, but it just needs to be a little bit something more than the date. So maybe like the first 3 initials of your program and then the date. And then it has to have supporting backup documentation, which I will talk about on the next slide. We could move. Okay, so then we have a sample invoice that I kept from Andrew. So as you can see on here, we have everything that we need. We have the date, the purchase order number that Zena provided for you, and then the invoice number. And it has to have your program name somewhere on the invoice, the amount, and then the time period. So as we just discussed, that we're going to have 11-month time periods. So anytime if you want to do this quarterly, it'll say, the first last year. Can I have the next slide, Caitlin? Thank you. And then as far as backup so what we just saw was like the cover letter for your invoice, and like that's what we look at, but then we need the backup for the figure that you put on there. And so we accept different things, and we're more than happy to, work with you, and everyone's system is going to be a little bit different. So what you send us might not all be the same. But so for personnel, timesheets with salary paid, hours worked plus salary paid, pay stubs, payroll records, and then for non-personnel receipts, invoices, and proof of payment. And then if you just ever have any questions about this, you're more than welcome to reach out to anybody on the team, but me as well. Slide, please. So then this is an example of a pay stub, as it's just really important that we have the payment actually and not just the number of hours worked. Next slide, please. And that's another example of like the benefits that are paid out. Next slide, please. Okay, so then we have invoice or reporting. All invoices and reports are submitted to Zoom grants. And these are done quarterly, and you can spend your money in all in the first quarter, all in the second quarter. You know, we do recommend that you're spending it or sending us the invoices as they come. But if you spend all the money in the first quarter, then we still have to do the quarterly reporting regardless. So that's just something to keep in mind. And again, feel free to reach out about any reporting questions. That's it for me. Oh, there's one more slide. Yeah. Oh, so this is basically what I just said. Even if you are spending all your money in the first quarter and the second quarter, and then, you know, by quarter 4, no more costs have incurred, we still have to do that quarterly report. Thank you.
All right, I guess it's me again. Thanks, Jessica and Caitlin. And I want to emphasize what Jessica said about billing early and often. We really encourage that. It's easier for our systems. Also, a lot of this money is federal, and you know, we assume that our money is fine, but I think you know, to the extent you're able to invoice quickly, the better. And you know, even if you're able to set up your budget so you do all of your invoicing for our grant the first 6 months of the year or something like that, we would highly recommend that. Although as she mentioned, you still do need to do the quarterly report. But as far as invoicing, again, please please don't wait till the end of the year. Please invoice quarterly at least, and sooner if you're able to. Next slide. Okay, so the budget that you submitted, you probably it's not the budget that got approved because probably you didn't, you know, you got a different amount of money. We went back and forth with you as we were developing agreement. So your exhibit A of your agreement will have your approved budget. Obviously things happen during the year. You hire at a different rate, you lose somebody, you have different needs. That's fine. But we do need you to get approval from either Caitlin or Joel or Zena if there's a change to your line item. So say, look at this one below, you hired the executive director, you're planning to spend $15,400 on them, you hired a different rate. So all you need to do is send us an email why the change is requested, and with the comparison of the approved and revised budget, the project monitor will respond with approval, and then they'll make the changes in Zoom grant. So then you can bill against the updated budget. One caveat, you can't add a new line item. So, you know, you didn't apply for funding for, I don't know, travel, and suddenly you want travel. We're not able to do that in our system. So it really has to be shifting within the approved line item budget. But we do try to be sort of quick and responsive because we understand that changes happen within the program. Next slide, please.
I just want to also just jump in really quickly that I'm not sure where this screenshot came from, but we should have caught this before. This example requests additional funding over what was originally approved. We can't do that. So I don't, yeah, just when we send out the presentation, we'll fix this example, but the revised amount has to be within the total that was originally approved.
Which is a shame. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just say?
Oh yeah, that would
yes,
be.
Thank you for catching that, Caitlin. All right, next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Yost, who is our wonderful partner over at Zoom Grants. And she's going to give a demo for how to do reporting and invoicing in Zoom Grants. If you've done this before, there's nothing new, but it's always good to have a refresher. So Jennifer, do you want to share your screen? That's probably the easiest, right?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody can hear me because I got a new mic. So I'm like, want to make sure it works. Yes, my name is Jennifer Yost and I'm with Zoom Grants. And this will be the last year that you're going to do your excuse me, invoicing and reporting. There's one slight change this year with your reporting, and so I'm going to cover that a little bit more in depth than in than the other components. But I'm going to go through the presentation, which is a slideshow, and then I'm going to actually go into a live demonstration. Just one moment while I pull it up. And so you should be seeing an applicant submitting invoices and reports presentation. And so the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to log into Zoom Grants. And so you're going to go to zoomgrants.com/login. Please do not use the original link that you had when you were submitting, as that will take you to a different set of the platform. You're going to log back in with your email and the password that's created. If you have forgotten your password, you can do a forgot password, which you see right here on the screen, and it'll walk you through how to self-reset your password. So you're going to land onto your dashboard, your user dashboard, and you're going to go into the approved application section of your dashboard. And that's where you're going to find that approved application. You're going to make sure and open that and go find your application. One thing to note is that you can add people to help work on the application with you and all components of it. So you have invited someone to help you actually do the application, but now you have to go back and give them access to the invoice and reporting. And so you're going to want to add or update the collaborator status of individuals that are assisting you, and making sure to click those boxes for which sections of the application that you want them to have editing ability. So if they didn't help you with the application, but you need them to have access to the invoicing, making sure to click that box. When you're submitting an invoice, you are going to be able to create a new invoice. You're going to navigate to the financial tab, create that new invoice, input that information that is required by the county, and upload the documents associated with it. You can also click right onto the add invoice from your user dashboard. But if you need to return to one that you started, you're going to want to click on the name of the application right here rather than add an invoice, because that will create a new one. And when you go into the application itself on that financial tab, you will see all the invoices that you have created already. And if it has not been submitted, you still have the ability to edit it. You get into the application, some things auto-populate in there. You're going to have your organizational name, the project name, and you're going to have information about the budget. So what you're going to do is you're going to you're going to input the contact information, because the contact information may not be the same for the project contact, because sometimes it's your financial staff that they need to respond to. So you're going to answer the questions that are in there. You're going to upload all those required documents, and then you're going to click that submit button. And I will show you through a live demonstration as well. You're going to click that submit button. It's going to auto put in a date for you, and it's going to submit and send a notification to the county that your invoice has been submitted, and they will start their processing. Submitting of the reports, you're going to go to the reports tab, or on the approved application in your user dashboard, add a report. So at this point, you're going to go into the report. You're going to answer the questions that are associated. That first question that you're going to have on this program is, what is your funding source? And that will populate the questions that apply to you. As Caitlin pointed out, you have different questions based upon your funding source. Once you've answered all the questions, uploaded any required documents that are necessary, you will then click that submit button. If you've missed any required questions, the system will prevent you from submitting the report, and you'll have to go and complete those questions and click that submit button again. And so you can see it right here, sorry. Those missing questions that you need to answer, once you've answered them, refreshed your screen, you can submit that report to the county, and they will receive a notification that it's been submitted. Really simple on that. So I'm going to go into a live demonstration. So that login page is where you're going to go. You're going to go right in here. You're going to put in your email and your password. If you forgot, you can type it right here, and I'll walk you through it, how to reset your password. Once you've logged in, I've already logged in just to speed up the process. You're going to see your dashboard. If for any reason you need to update your profile or update who is the executive director of your organization, if that has changed, you can change that with the profile button here. From this screen, you're going to go to the approved applications. You use that application for the county, and I've got it down here. Right here, you can click on the name of the application that you just submitted, or go straight to the add invoice or add the report. I go straight into the application just to be able to see everything. And so right here is where you have that application. On the proposal cover sheet is where you're going to add collaborators. Those are the individuals that you want to be able to work on the application to help you with the invoices. This is where you're going to add anybody new. So you're going to give them an email, first name, last name, title, and then click the box that you want them to have edit access to. So that's what, and if they're existing in there, you can actually change their status. You can see this is one that Caitlin and I have been playing in because it is our test application that she is listed as a collaborator. And you're going to click that invite button. Once they've actually accessed it, you'll see that you get a check mark. If there is no check mark, they still have not accessed the system, and the email may have gone to their junk mail. So you definitely want to make sure and reach out to them if they haven't. One thing that you're going to see up here, this started last year, is we actually tell you what the funding source is right here, right under how much you've been funded. That's going to be used to help you complete the report. But I'm going to go to the financial tab right here so you can do an invoice. And you see I've got one that I've already submitted and it's been approved, so you can see what it looks like. And down below is where you're going to see that approved budget, what the county has given you based upon the line items you've identified, and it's going to let you know how much has been approved, how much has been paid, and after you've submitted an invoice, how much is still being reviewed by the county. So you can make sure that you stay within your budget and get that information to them as fast as possible. So we're going to create a new invoice right here. Going to pull up a new screen, and it's going to pre-populate with some information. Once the county has executed the contracts, they are going to put in your PO number that's right up here. This will help you remember what you need to put on that cover letter that you need to prepare and send to them. This is where you're going to put in an invoice number. That's that unique number that they are requesting, and who needs to be contacted at your organization if the county has any questions about this. In here is where you're going to see your line item budget. So you're able to add a brief description of the information. You're able to put in the quantity and at what rate. So you have personnel, you have 5 people. You're just going to type in 1, then you're going to type in the $5,000 that we spent. So you just give the total amount. If it is a true quantity rate, such as we got 45 t-shirts and they were, $6.75 each, the system will automatically calculate that for you. So if it's multiple things together in the backup documentation for that one line item, you're going to type 1 and the total amount. You're going to answer the questions if you have confirmed that you have uploaded your cover letter and backup documentation. You are going to upload that documentation. So I'm going to show you what happens if you do not upload. You're going to click that submit button. We're going to get a new screen that says, please upload all required documents. So the system will prevent you from submitting if you do not provide the cover letter and the supplemental documentation, which is your backup documentation, all one PDF to help the county. And once you have put in this information of the total amount, it will auto-populate the total request for you. Okay. In your demographic and income reporting, it is really important that you answer question number 1 first based upon what's listed up here of your funding source. Question number 1 is a conditional formatting, or what we call a branching question. It will determine which questions you have to answer based upon your answer. So quarter 1, 2, and 3, you are going to select one of these options. The 4th report, you're going to select the 4th report because there's some additional questions that are necessary for that final report. So this one is a CDBG. I'm going to click that CDBG and it's going to pull up the questions. So the numbers of the questions are going to change based upon your answer. So they may be out of sequence. So we've got our race information that we need to answer. We have the white, non-Hispanic, and the white Hispanic, and be able to answer that information. Then you're going to have female head of household, put that information in, and the income information. And have you completed the performance measure table? Now this used to be in, you would have to go back to your application and complete. This year, it is actually within the report. So you're just going to scroll down below where you upload documentation, and you're going to say, see the performance evaluation form. You're going to see the information you originally inputted as part of the application in your performance measures and the expected outcomes. These are locked. If these need to be updated for any reason, you do need to reach out to the county so that they can help you with unlocking these columns. You're going to complete the information for the quarter. The columns that are not necessary to be answered at this time are locked and you're not able to input data. So you're just entering the data into the quarterly report. So in quarter two column will be open, quarter three column. The system then will do a year to date for you and identify how much is remaining for you to meet the expected outcomes. So the system does the math for you so you can double check your quality of work and how close you are in meeting your goals. As Jennifer and Jessica stated, you still do have to complete the reports, even if you spent all the money. So you do receive a notification that your reports are coming due. You will not receive a notification from the system that invoices are due, as you may submit it all in quarter one and don't need it for quarter two, three, or four. So once you've got this information in and you've uploaded the documentation, you'll be able to hit the submit button. I'm going to click that submit button and it's going to say stuff is missing. And that's because I did switch. I'm going to do a refresh and then go back into my reports. Quarter one, oops, sorry, I hit the mouse button. The computer's thinking. There we go. Gonna hit that and it's going to say it has been submitted. So its report is successfully submitted and I can refresh to confirm. And the reason it was showing that some of the questions weren't answered is because during that session, I did switch my selection here. So the system hadn't been refreshed since I had changed my selection. So now this is submitted and we are in a good spot. For you as well, there is a tab called the reports total. This allows you to look at the year-to-date data that you have already inputted. So this is really helpful when you start into report quarter 2, 3, and 4. You're able to go and look at how much you've inputted into each of the columns and what's the total year-to-date of any of those tables that you have. And did you answer all the necessary columns for the information that you provided? And you're able to see all the questions that are part of the report, regardless of the funding source. So it gives you that information, which is helpful. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Well, thanks. And I want to say, I mean, I know for watching a demo sometimes isn't as helpful as getting in there and doing it. So thanks for doing that, Jennifer. If, you know, once you're in there, if you have questions, Zena is a great first step. She can often help you navigate. The folks at Zoom Grants are wonderful too, so we may refer you to them, but it's actually much easier than it seems. So thank you, Jennifer. All right, I guess next slide, please. So I just wanted to give you some important dates. As we said, July 1st is the beginning of the grant year. First, and your quarterly reports are due 15 days after the previous quarter. And again, because it's an 11-month year, final invoices are due end of May. So it's an 11-month grant. Program costs cannot be incurred after May 30th. If you'd like to report on the full 12 months, we would love that because we might as well, you know, give you credit for the whole year. If you'd rather just report on the 11 months, that's fine too. So final reports are due June. Oh, and then you can't do, never mind. I take that back. You're reporting on your 11 months, June 15th. So, and for some of you, I think that'll be easy if your program if your program happens earlier in the year. For those of you like after school programs and things like that, it might be a little more challenging. And do feel free to reach out and talk to us about that. You know, how we can make that work as far as your reporting. Some of you, actually many of you, your clients are already registered early. So we'll see. So it depends on what works for you as an organization, how the reporting will work. But most importantly, final invoices are due May 29th, and you cannot incur costs after that. So next slide, please. All right. So thank you for all of your work. Okay, I see we have a question. Hey, Stephanie. AHIF grants are always awarded for 2 years. And the difference again between those is they're non-renewable. If you have a CDBG or CSBG or CSBG TANF grant, you can come in year after year for the same program. The AHIF, the intention of it really is to be kind of a startup grant. So you receive it for 2 years and then it's non-renewable at that point. You're welcome to come back for another program, of course. Any other questions?
I have a quick question. This is Stephanie from Just Neighbors. So that with the 11 months, that means our the quarterly reports and everything. So our numbers for clients and things like that just have to be divided between 11 months instead of 12. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing for those of you who are federally funded, we have not gotten very specific guidance from either HUD or the state on sort of new executive orders. Very specifically, we are being told, there's certain language that you can't be using. There are certain programs that you can't be promoting. If you have any questions, do reach out to us and we can talk about your individual program. The action plan that Caitlin mentioned that we submitted to HUD, we did sort of take out words that we thought might be kind of trigger words. So I think we're fine, but if you do have any questions about your program or your reporting or any language that you use, do please reach out to us and we can talk that through. No questions. Okay. Well, we will post the recording. If you have not signed in, please do. It's helpful for us to know who is here. So if you can just sign in who you are in the chat. And again, we encourage you to reach out. We would much prefer to have you reach out to us if you have any questions, if you have any issues. One thing we didn't mention is sometimes people have trouble spending at first because maybe you couldn't get your hiring done as quickly as you thought, or for whatever reason. Please keep us in the loop. We really want to be a support to you and we want to know what's going on. So we do encourage you to reach out more often than not. So I guess that's it. Thank you all. Have a great day and stay cool.
I want to just do a quick announcement really quickly, if that's okay.
Sure.
So for everyone who will be applying for funding for 2027, just keep in mind that the application is going to be in our new application software for 2027. So that's the application that's going to be released July 7th. And also just keep in mind that the application is going to look considerably different this year. We've been we did a bunch of focus groups. We did a survey during the spring and got a lot of feedback from applicants about sort of ways we can consolidate and streamline our existing application. So we think we made some good improvements to that, but just keep an eye out for that because it will look different. It's going to be a new application software, new application. So just I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that, and we will be doing a lot of communicating around that as well, so folks aren't caught off guard.
Do you have approximate due date for that?
So it's actually, so we will be releasing it on July 7th, which is a Monday. This year, we're going to have a pre-application. It's really short, sort of, just contact information and then a quick blurb about each of your programs. And then that's going to be due mid-August, I think August 13th. And then the full application is going to be due on September 12th. And then again, all of that information is going to be on our website in a couple weeks, so you'll be able to see all the information. We're also going to be requiring some technical assistance sessions just because of the new format and new process and everything. So just keep an eye out for all of that. We don't want to catch anyone off guard. Elise, did you have a question?
Yes, you mentioned that the new application will be due using the new software other than Zoom grants. What is that new software?
It's called Neighborly.
Neighborly, okay.
Yep.
And I'm assuming you'll just have instructions on your website about making a new account and all the things.
Yes, that's all going to be in our NOFA. There will be we're going to do a tutorial for how to create an application at our application workshop, which is going to be on, I think, July 25th?
July 24th. 24th from 10 to 12, if you want to go ahead and
Yep.
mark your calendar now.
So there will be a tutorial on how to create and submit an application during that workshop. So I would definitely recommend folks attending that. We're also going to be doing technical assistance office hours where you'll be able to sign up for direct one-on-one assistance with county staff to kind of talk through your application and get assistance on actually creating an application. So hopefully with all that, we'll be able to work out any, issues with the new system. But yeah, just keep an eye out for everything that's coming up in the next week or so.
Great. Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Great. All right. Thanks for that announcement, Caitlin. And stay tuned for the new NOFA. We're excited. Yeah, so we'll see you hopefully July 24th. And again, we will hopefully be offering lots of assistance. So hopefully it will go pretty smoothly the next application process. And this year, again, do feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.